Hello everyone, I'm Mike Morgan, one of the safety monitors in the wood shop. I want to review for you the safety procedures that we ask you to follow when you're operating the chop saw, also called a miter saw. Now this tool is capable of making very accurate crosscuts only, where crosscut means across the grain, in such a way that you can get the angle exactly right. So the tool is adjustable to make cuts anywhere between 90 degrees all the way down to 45 in either direction. Very, very useful tool in that sense. You can also see that it has a long fence, where this surface right here is the fence. So the procedure involves placing the wood to be cut firmly against the fence, and you have adjusted the blade to the desired angle. So right now it's set at 90 degrees and there's a detent at 90, which makes it very convenient. But I can also swing it over here to 45 in one direction, or 45 in the other direction, or any place in between. Quite a versatile tool. This particular saw also has the added feature of being able to adjust the angle in this direction. So it's called a compound miter saw, which is useful for making picture frames and other applications where you need to cut at two angles at the same time. I'm not going to demonstrate that, but I think you can get the principle as we make a simple 90-degree miter cut with this tool. So here's the system for adjusting the angle. You have to press down with my thumb while I pull up on this red lever underneath, and then it will swing freely. If I let go, it'll stop at a detent. This takes practice. So get somebody to show you the first time how to make this adjustment. And you can lock it in place with that large wheel. The tool is set for a 90-degree cut, so in practice I would mark the location of my cut and set it against the fence such that when I bring the blade down, it will by eye match my pencil mark. So I've made a cut exactly where I want it to be. There are also stops on the fence that will allow me to hold the piece of wood in exactly the right place once I've carefully measured the location for the cut. With the stop in place, I can cut multiple pieces at exactly the same length without having to measure each one. So I've got this set just where I want it to be, so I can successively cut pieces and they will all come out the same length. In some instances, it might be handy to be able to clamp the wood down, and that's what this device is for. Fits in a hole but swings in any direction, and you can bring the wheel down to clamp your piece in place. That obviates the need for me to hold onto the wood at all. It's now securely in place, and I can go ahead with my cut. On this saw, if you look carefully, you can see a little no hands sticker right here and one on the opposite side. That's a reminder that when you're operating this tool, your hand should never be any closer to the blade than that point. So if I'm holding my wood in position here, I want my hand to be to the left of this sticker on this side or to the right on the other side. Now that's quite a distance. That's 8-9 inches, suggesting that there's a larger margin of safety that we want to have with this tool. If you have to hold a piece of wood because it's so small that your hand is in here, you're using the wrong tool. You need to find some other tool to make that cut. The piece you're working on is too small. And that's an important reminder. That's what this hand with a slashed red line through it is really for, to remind you to choose another tool if you're having to hold the piece too close to the work. What other tool would you use? You'd use the bandsaw for a small piece like this. Bandsaws are really good at cross cuts and rip cuts on small pieces of wood, because remember, you don't have to hold the wood in place. The saw blade keeps it on the table for you, and you just have to guide. Now this tool is a screamer, as I call it. It makes a lot of noise, so I like to use my hearing protection, and I'm now going to demonstrate the proper means of inserting earplugs. You reach over your head and lift your outer ear vertically while you insert the plug. And now my ear protection is in place. I can't hear a thing you say. This particular chop saw also has an additional useful feature, which is that it slides front and back. It slides this way. So I can cut boards that are all the way out here in width. So be aware that as you operate the saw, you've got this kind of motion and this motion going on possibly at the same time. The on-off trigger has a safety in it such that you must compress one of these two red buttons. So if you're operating the saw right-handed, I can't operate the trigger this way until I compress the red button, and then it will turn on. And if you're left-handed, same idea, but use your left thumb to depress the button on this side, and away she goes. This is a beast that likes to be fed steadily, not too fast, not too slow, but by all means not with a jerky motion, but with a steady motion. With this saw, we're going to feed in this direction. That's consistent with the notion that the motion, the relative motion of the wood versus the tool should be such that the tool moves counter to the wood or the wood moves counter to the teeth of the blade. Two things. I started with the blade outside and pushed it in. That's the safest procedure to use. And you also may have noticed that after the cut was finished and I released the trigger on the tool, I left the saw in the down position until the blade stopped. That's the safest way to do it so that you have less chance of the offcut being kicked away by the rotating blade as it continues to turn. So if your wood is too wide, you can make a single cut that will come out to about here, flip the board over, and make the same cut coming this way. But you have the problem of assuring that the boards are aligned correctly, or the board is aligned correctly, so that the two cuts meet each other in the middle. That means using the stop over here.